My own brother did everything to ruin my life, blaming me for my parents' death to suing me nonstop. So I took matters into my own hands. I beat him to death, and in my own rage I reflected on everything and don't regret it one bit. Before I start, I need to clarify some stuff. I am from Germany, so I'm sorry for any mistakes. The school system is like this: elementary school is from 1st to 4th grade, followed by middle school and high school altogether from 5th to 13th grade, and finally college or university. Since I got into middle school, I had a goal. I wanted to move to a foreign country and get a nice job there after studying something like business management. I set the bar very high because I grew up in a family of substance addicts, dealers and abusive parents and brother. Because I had this goal, I always put pressure on myself unintentionally. I got to middle school by the age of 9, which was a year earlier than everyone. I got to school earlier since I could already read and write in kindergarten. By the age of 12, I had learned 3 new languages. English to an extent where I could easily talk to Americans and Brits, Japanese like a local elementary student, and Spanish so I could also kind of talk to Spanish people. Fast forward to 13th grade. My life was hell throughout school since I got beatings at home for not being able to sell and cook substances, and barely had any friends because of my clothes that always had holes in them. Even though I was close to suicidal, I never gave up on my goal and had only A's since 5th grade. I barely ever got B''S. I had finished high school with a GPA of 4.0. I had finished university and studied business management. At this point, my parents had both died of a substance overdose, and the only person I pretty much knew was my brother, who was still an a-hole. I never really talked to him, I just knew that he had done something with sports in his career. Everything went like I always dreamed except for the foreign country part. With 30, I had a wife and 2 kids, average income, and all in all an average life. I never was really happy with that because of the high expectations I had of myself. I tried to accept it, but I always felt like I threw my potential away. I fell into a deep depression when I was 33. My wife left me because of it and took the kids with her. And here I was again, alone, depressed, suicidal. The only person I knew and was comfortable with calling was my brother, who I hadn't seen for a few years. I thought he became a down-to-earth guy because on the phone he genuinely sounded like he was trying to help me. I was in department, so I had to sell my car and take a train to the town where he lived. When I finally got there, he still seemed like he was trying to be helpful. He even offered me money, which I didn't want to accept. He took me into his place, which was surprisingly big. How did he get such a big house? He never did anything for school. He had always been an asshole, and all he did was think of sports and spend time with his friends doing substances. I couldn't get that question out of my head, so I just had to ask him. The answer I got was with hard work, of course. Hard work? He never did anything, and I knew he hadn't done anything since I had last seen him. To confirm this, I asked his wife, to which she said that he was just lucky. He had won the lottery. He won 2.7 million euros and did some lucky investments. A lazy, abusive piece of poop had more money and a better life than me. I couldn't get over this, but since he was being nice and let me stay at his place, I didn't mention it. After 3 months of staying at his place, he offered me a place in his company. I didn't know anything about his company and about this line of work. Keep in mind that I was still depressed and desperate. I accepted the offer, and he intentionally gave me a task in his company that was extremely hard to complete, and the other workers warned me. But I didn't listen. I had effed up. I destroyed a machine that would cost around $150K to replace. I tried to explain to him that I couldn't give him the money because I was in department. He sued me and he won. My depression sucked me in a deep dark hole further and further. After a suicide attempt, I got sent to a mental health clinic, and I spent a little over a year there. I was 35 when I got out. My depression wasn't gone, but they decided that I wasn't trying to unalive myself anymore. The first person I saw when I got out was my brother. He was waiting in the entrance area, and the first words he said to me were, "Can't get a decent job, can't get the wife to stay, and can't even unalive yourself. What can you do?" I was furious. I couldn't hold back, and I punched him in the face as hard as I could and broke his jaw, and when he fell on the ground, he lost a tooth. Can you guess what happened again? Right, I got sued again. And he won again. I couldn't pay for the medical bills, so I got a loan. Everything seemed okay until I turned 38. I had paid off the loan but was still in department. I was relatively happy with life at this point until the day everything was ruined again. My brother decided to pay me a visit. He greeted me with the words, "You thought I would let you off with the medical bills? You probably knew, but everything I did for you was just a plan to make you unalive yourself. You were the reason Mom and Dad died." Excuse me? I was the reason? They were substance addicts and I didn't want to have anything to do with them. I said something like, "This will not end well if you don't leave me alone. You already ruined everything for me, isn't that enough?" He told me that he would not leave me alone until I would unalive myself. He brought my kids up again and my wife and everything that had failed. I had lost it and started to beat him. I beat him for about 5 minutes when I realized that I had done something terrible. He was laying in a pool of blood and I panicked. I called the cops on myself, and a few weeks later the court decided what my punishment would be. Since I gave myself up to the cops, my time got reduced from original 13 years to 10. They knew that I was probably going to unalive myself as soon as I got into prison. They put me in a cell that was supervised 24/7, so I couldn't even try. These 10 years opened my eyes. I had been in selfish a-hole to my wife and kids and always thought about my stupid career. I was the reason all of this had happened. I was the reason my wife left me and my life seemed worthless. As soon as I got out, I started to search for a job, and even though I had been to prison, I found a job soon. It has now been 2 years since I got out, and I am the happiest I have ever been. I do not regret unaliving my brother one single bit. Not only did I help myself with it, but also his wife, who got his money and everyone he had oppressed and assaulted over the past few years. His wife was happy he wasn't there anymore because he was beating her constantly. I have a below average income but a loving girlfriend who knows I was in prison but doesn't know the circumstances. I live in a small cozy apartment and I'm happy to live my new life.